Hello guys and welcome to Building a Business Instagram part 2. So in this video we're going to get a bit more into like the technical side of things when it comes to building a business Instagram. Okay, so I want to introduce you to your shop window, not literally. So I've listed 5 things here: Instagram name, bio, website link, story highlights, and your grids. Now all of these things combined make your virtual shop window. Okay, so as you know, none of us actually have shops, but our social media presence is essentially like our online shop. Okay, and so of course, because it's the place where we are like ultimately like doing business, we need to learn how to make it look good and how to like run it and how to dress the mannequins as an analogy. So yeah, I'm going to kind of dive into this a little bit. Now, some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about, I know again that Jake and Lauren have already done videos on it as well, or will be doing. And that's totally okay. All right. As I've said in my last video, like it's quite important to hear things more than once, and sometimes you're going to resonate with one person and not the other. That's totally normal. But having said that, because I know that they're going into this as well, I'm not going to, spend a huge amount of time on it, and I am just going to kind of like, skim over it so you get the basics of it from my perspective. So first things first, Instagram name and handle. In case you didn't know, your handle is actually the thing that comes after that @ sign. All right. So if your actual name is in your handle, like mine is here, you don't necessarily need to put your name in your Instagram name like this. Okay. So on my second account here, which I recently started, of course, I don't have my actual name in my handle here, so me and my partner have put it in our actual name. So that's the first thing to remember when it comes to this, right? You do need your name somewhere in one of those two, and if it can't be in your handle, make sure it's in your Instagram name, okay? Now, when it comes to your Instagram name, this bit at the bottom that sits at the top of the bio, these are actually searchable words as well. Okay, so you'll see that I've got like some things that I'm passionate about, online business. No, I am actually going to change this again soon. I don't particularly like it. But yeah, you want to have like something about like you and like a searchable word, something that's going to help you kind of come up on the searches. That's what most people tend to do. And here's just a couple of examples, so you can see that kind of what I've said on that last slide, it follows through with these examples here. Have a little look at them, have a little read, and have a little think about what you're potentially going to change your Instagram name or handle or both to, okay? Instagram bio. So your Instagram bio is the first thing that people are actually going to read when they come onto your profile, okay? It gives you a small space to explain a bit about who you are, what you do, and what you offer. When we transition into building a business Instagram, we don't want your bio to just say something like, be kind, or like, I'm vegan, all right? This is the transition that needs to happen. We need to kind of move away from them like 2-word sentences that don't really mean anything or like show anything, and we need to move into things that are a little bit deeper and have a bit more substance. Okay, so ultimately you're probably going to end up with something like this. Now, all of these have a few things in common. Firstly, we all have an I help statement. Okay, you can read that here. I help, we help. You may not know what your I help statement is right now. That's totally okay. Okay, don't panic about that. I'm going to tell you what to do if that's the case in a minute. But ultimately, you probably will have something like this over time when you figure out what your I help statement is. Okay. The second thing these all have in common is we have a call to action. So mine is like click below to learn how. Jake actually has 2. He's got, you can apply below or you can DM me, and Aaron is again applied below. So these are 2 really good call to actions. And like I say, ultimately, you're probably going to have something like this. But before you get there, we need to, make the transition from like, be kind or I'm vegan to something a bit deeper. And so you can start off with something less overwhelming than the 3 examples I just gave you on the previous slide. So again, here's Lily. So she had hers when she first started as Dutch nurse, turning the world into her office. So, you know, it's giving a bit more, but at this point in time, she hadn't figured out like her I help statement or her niche or things like that. So this is kind of the best she could do at the time, which was totally fine. Same for mine and Henry's. You know, I've recently just created this. I'm still figuring out our brand and our vibe and, you know, how businessy we want this Instagram to be. So for now, I've just kept it simple with an ordinary couple living a not so ordinary life. Yeah, so it represents us. It gives a little bit of substance, but you know, there's not too much there purely because I haven't figured that out yet. Okay, so hopefully this really helps you, you know, get something a bit deeper on that Instagram bio and move away from them one words. So website link, there are 2 ways to do this. This may not apply to you right now again, but it's something that will apply to you very soon, or maybe it does already. So there's 2 ways to do this. We can use Linktree, which is a separate app. Now this app allows you to have a couple of different links. So this is the one I've got, okay? You can download that app and you can figure out how to use that in your own time. It's really straightforward and simple. Or we can just go straight to Typeform. Now, you may not even know what Typeform is right now. Again, that's totally okay. Don't stress, you will very soon. But it's basically just a form that we can collect the data from people and then send them a message. So some people will have just a Typeform link, and that's going to be their call to action. Okay, there's no right or wrong. Again, there's just a couple of ways to do things. So like I say, you may not be at a stage where you're able to put any form of website link in your bio yet. If you're not, that's okay. You can just come back to this video when the time is right. Story highlights is the next thing. So this is like your book, your shop book, like your catalog. People are going to stalk these, like people are going to stalk these for years, right? If you do a story highlight tomorrow and it's a good one, people are literally going to stalk that until you remove it. Okay, so these are really important and they can be so valuable. So my advice on this is we really want to give like a broad picture with a variety of different topics about who we are, our life, what we love, what we do. Okay, and Woody is just an example that I'm using here. He does this really well. So just by looking at his highlights, I can tell that he's got a business. I can tell a little bit about his life, what he loves, who he is, and an achievement that he's made. So that's really good. Like he's doing this really well. He's also got a really nice theme going on there. So it looks nice and neat and tidy, and yeah, it's presented really well. Okay, now ideally we want to keep it to 5, only because when someone goes on to your Instagram on a mobile, the first 5 are going to be what they see in it. So it tends to be the ones that people look at the most. You'll probably see that Jake has about 100. Again, there's really no right or wrong. They just say that sometimes if you have more than 5, it can devalue the first 5 and they're not always going to get watched. So that's just what they advise. However, you know, Jake's counter argument might be, well, mine are all equally as valuable. And so, you know, it makes no difference to me, and that's totally fine. Again, no right or wrong, but do try and make them first 5 the ones that you want people to watch first. Okay. So a couple more examples, and we'll take a little look at what they've got in common. So they all have a nice theme. So Jamie's is really similar. Lauren's is like actual pictures, not ones that she's created off Canva. And then there isn't necessarily a theme there, but they look great, right? So she's made sure that all the pictures kind of match and they represent the words underneath them. Then we've got, I think this is Jake's, and again, not like a huge or like a theme that stands out too much here at all, but they're all created on Canva. They all look good together, and it just works. Yeah. So the things that these have in common, the theme. It may not stand out a huge amount, but they all look good. Okay. They've got some sort of theme that probably makes sense to them in their head. The other thing they have in common is they all are talking about a variety of different things. Again, with Jamie, like Lauren and Jake on these, I can see what they're doing, a bit about who they are, a bit about what they like, a bit about what they offer, a bit about their life. Yeah. Just in these 5 highlights, I can tell all of that on all of them. So again, they're doing this really well. So where would I start? Because you're probably looking at that and thinking, well, how the hell am I gonna, get all of that out now? Well, you're not, you can't, okay? But a good place to start, get rid of any that you wouldn't expect to see on someone else's business profile, right? You are running a business now. You don't really want like a million highlights of you like getting drunk till 4 a.m. I'm sure there isn't that on yours, but just that's the first thing I do. Just eliminate any that you wouldn't see on another professional account, although I don't like that word, but you know what I mean. Then the second thing you're going to do is condense your current ones down. If you've got a load of you like traveling for 10 years, say you've got like 15 different highlights of 15 different countries, we're probably going to want to condense that down to one. One. And the reason is because like no one is actually going to want to go through all of them and sit through like 10 years of story highlights if you travel into 15 different countries. Like people aren't going to do that. It's not giving value to them. It's showing them that you've traveled, but it's before this business anyway, so it's kind of irrelevant. It's not what you've achieved through this business. And it's showing them a bit of like who you are. So like that's good, but we can condense that down to one to make room for the other ones that are going to be more valuable, that are going to give, or sorry, equally as valuable, but are going to give like, they're going to complete your book, they're going to complete your catalogue, and they're going to make it so that you're giving a wide range of topics to your audience so they can really, take different things from that highlights, not just one thing. The next thing I do is I create an about me highlight. This is a really great way to not only step outside your comfort zone and introduce yourself to people that you maybe haven't spoke to in years, but also a really good way to introduce your business, which a lot of my team do tend to do this at the very end of their about me highlights. They tend to just kind of first mention that they're building a business. So that will be the next thing I do. And to be honest, that's about all you can do for now. Like I say, stories are something that's going to develop over time as you grow, as your understanding of the business deepens and develops. So will your stories, and you'll just naturally start to create them, complete your book, should I say. But again, they're going to change and develop over time. Mine are in desperate need of a big update, hence why I haven't even given mine as an example here. As you grow, so will your highlights. Okay, so yeah, this is about as much as you're going to be able to do right now, and that's okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is your grid. So again, there's really no right or wrong here, but of course we want to make it aesthetically pleasing and interesting. We want people to stay, we want them to have a stalk, and then we want them to follow, hopefully. So I've used mine and Jake's as an example here just because they are literally polar opposites, yeah, as you can see. So with mine, I just tend to kind of have a bit of a theme of like a photo that's close up, then far away, close up, far away. I make sure that my last photo matches with the rest of my grid and my previous photo, and just make sure it all kind of looks okay or good. Don't want to blow my own trumpet, I know it's not amazing, but I'd say that it all kind of flows and it all fits in quite nicely. Whereas Jake has gone for a really different theme. He's got loads of writing on his Instagram, and it's, as you can see, just completely different to mine. Now, recently I have seen people introducing writing onto their pictures to give people direction, so to like navigate them with where to go, to explain a little bit about what their reel's about, and really help people navigate themselves through the Instagram. I think this is a great idea. I just haven't done it yet. It's a relatively new thing that I've started seeing. Just because I haven't got writing on mine now doesn't mean that I'm against it. I actually am going to start introducing that very soon. Maybe not as extreme as Jake, but yeah, there's definitely some benefits there, and I'm going to trial and test that. 2 apps that are really good to download if you want to be able to use like presets, or be able to start having like a bit more of a structured theme, are these 2 down here. So Filter will actually give you presets. Presets are basically like presetted photos where you can copy and paste the settings onto every photo, and the filter will be exactly the same on all of them. So this can be a really good way to stick to a theme with your Instagram if you want to do that. I haven't used it in years. As you can see, it's not even downloaded on my phone. But Lightroom is a great photo editing app. You can enhance the colors, enhance the lighting and things like that. And once you kind of get to understand how that works, it's a really great tool to have. So I definitely recommend downloading Lightroom. So let's have a look at these. So Lauren has, I mean, her Instagram looks great. There's not necessarily a theme there again, but she's just making sure that like it just looks good. Okay, so like I say, it probably makes sense in her head, like it does with her story highlights, and she knows like what her theme is. I personally can't pick it out or figure it out, but I don't need to. All I need to know is I'm looking at that and it looks interesting and it looks good and it makes me want to click on, you know, the photos and the reels that she's got there. So as you can see, she has started putting writing on her reels. I don't know if she's going to do it on photos in the future, I'm not sure. So far it's just on reels. It looks really good. I think it's a great idea. This is probably the vibe that I'm going to move into and start testing myself. Then we move on to Hannah's. So the second one, this is a really good example of when someone uses the same presets for all of their photos. So this is going to be a certain preset that makes things quite pale and quite white. Again, Hannah does it really well. It looks great. Her Instagram looks great. I assume she uses Lightroom and that app filter for this. Then we've got Kieran and Amanda's, which I find really interesting because their Instagram a few years ago, it used to be so different to this. Like it used to be picture perfect. It was so aesthetically pleasing. Their filters looked amazing. Their pictures were incredible. Now, I'm not saying that it's you know, not incredible now, it is, but it's just different, right? We look at this now and it's just quite messy, but in a really good way. Like they do messy in the best way possible. Okay, maybe it's just because now they've got kids and life with kids is a bit messy and their Instagram kind of translates that. But either way, you know, they're doing it really well. You can tell there's not much of a theme here. It's very messy, but it looks great. And to be honest, guys, their Instagram is higher than anyone in We Are the Change, so they're doing something right. But go take a look at them. Over the flip side is their Instagram. Have a scroll back and just look at how they've grown and how they've developed and how their Instagram has shifted over time as well, because it's really interesting. And then we've got Woody, who actually only has reels on his Instagram grid, as you can see. Again, not a huge like strict theme going on, but everything's kind of blue. He's got a bit of writing on his reels as well, which is cool. You can really get a sense of who he is just by looking at his grid and what he loves and what he does. And yeah, again, it just works. Okay, so you can see all of these are so different, guys, but they all look really good and they all work. Some tips and tricks on the grid and also like what I've spoken about throughout this whole call. So first things first, like you need to take it from now. Okay, so a lot of what I've spoken about, you can't like go back and edit the past, right? That's not what we're expecting you to do. That's not what you need to do. We actually just start from today. We start the learning process from today. This call isn't going to be enough for you to now go and do everything I've just spoken about like that. It's just not, right? The learning process is a journey. It's something that takes time. It's something that's going to actually require more than just watching this call. And you really need to be patient with yourself and understand that, you know, this is now a journey and it's all new to you. And it's going to take a little bit of research and a lot of trial and error. Okay, a little trick that I use, I have a photo album that replicates my Instagram. For me, it's just an easy way to see, does my last photo fit in with the one that I'm about to post? If not, I'll swap it out. If it does, great. I can see there and then that fits in with the grid and keeps the theme going. Kind of touched on this, yeah, just understand it is the process, guys. And you are going to grow and develop so much over time. I can't stress that enough, that your kind of ideas that you've got now in a year's time, they're not going to be the same ideas that you're using. Okay, and the last thing, like it's such a good idea to go and stalk people, right? That's where you're gonna like see what's working for other people, see how other people are doing it, and be able to take some little things from them that you really like, make it your own, and then implement it. But the one thing we really don't want to do is completely copy. Okay, always make something your own. So yeah, I really hope that this call has helped plant some seeds. I hope that it's helped you learn something, and I hope you've taken something away from it. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.